Hello again, everybody. This is section 10 of Stop Fighting Cancer. I hope you're learning a lot as we go through this. We're talking about diet the last few weeks, and now this one we're going to be talking even more about diet and the difference between inflammation and anti-inflammation and how we really want to strike a balance there. So let's jump into this right away. So in this section, you're going to learn about pro-inflammatory things and anti-inflammatory things, and what's the difference. Now, the truth is that we don't always want to be in a state of anti-inflammation. So let me explain. So what is inflammation? Inflammation really, so let's say I sprained my ankle, and my ankle swells up. What is that? Well, that's inflammation. That's swelling, inflammation. Well, what it really is a protective measure. It does several things. It splints my ankle so that I won't break it and it will be stiff and it won't move around. So it protects it from further injury. But it is a conglomeration of Th1 chemicals. So remember we were talking about an immune response, that you have this immediate immune response, which is the purpose of it is Marine Corps with machine guns to kill any pathogen. And then the second part of the immune response is the Th2. They are less inflammatory and they are mainly sent out. Maybe you could say that they're the CIA looking for the enemy so that they can create antibodies against that enemy and tag that enemy so that then when the Th1 side fires, the Marine Corps are called back in, it can kill that enemy. So when I sprain my ankle, that is really a Th1 response. It's highly inflammatory. Well, why? Why does it do that? Well, I said it does it to splint that area so that I don't move it and damage that bone even more and possibly break it. But when you have an injury, your body sees that injury as a possible infiltration of pathogens. Well, it didn't know if you cut your ankle open or not. So it sends all this hyper Th1 response there to kill. What if you damage the skin barrier, and through that skin barrier, some horrible pathogen tries to enter? So now we got all these white blood cells there ready to kill that horrible pathogen that could have entered there. Well, that didn't happen when I sprained my ankle, so that has nowhere to go. So it just swells way up, and you're instructed to go home, put your foot up, put some ice on it to get rid of the swelling. Well, that's the right thing to do because now we try to push it into an anti-inflammatory state. I went into this pro-inflammatory state and it had its purpose. So just like anything else with the body, we don't want to be hyper anti-inflammatory, nor do we want to be hyper pro-inflammatory. There's a balance there that we strike. With so many things in our body, it's about balance. So if I have no inflammation, then what is the inflammation in it? It's the Th1 response. What is the Th1 response? It's the Marine Corps with machine guns. If I have no inflammation, then I have no more machine guns and Marine Corps to kill my cancer cells. But if I have too much inflammation, which it could be a whole bunch of other cytokines and chemokines in the area, then it can resist that very response that we want. So it's about striking a balance. That's what it's all about, striking a balance. So we don't want a whole bunch of swelling around my liver cancer and my liver all bulged up, but we also don't want to have no inflammatory response there as well. So really, how do you strike this balance? Again, you go back to diet. It's very important not to be eating foods that just cause inflammatory responses because they're irritants. So that's why, um, you know, things that might even be good foods can be hyper-inflammatory. You have to be careful about this. I took this list off the internet. I typically don't tell people to go off avocado, but we don't want to eat foods that are inflammatory. Sorry, I'm looking at the size. But the like gluten and casein and a sunflower, safflower. Well, I thought you said those oils are good for me. Store-bought, non-cold pressed, dairy, meat, eggs. Even though some meat might be good for some people, definitely processed meats. Definitely, the more you get into processed foods, and that's why gluten, Remember, wheat is not the same as it was a century ago. It is processed. Even though it comes right out of the field, it's not the way God created it. These are hyper-inflammatory foods. So you don't want to be eating those foods. You want to be eating the biggest thing as an anti-inflammatory diet is greens. So eating greens, eating an Eden-based diet as much as possible, and staying away from anything that is GMO, and staying away from grains. Grains are your most inflammatory thing that you can have. So is casein. Remember, casein is the protein found in dairy. So if you didn't know that. All right, so that's the best way to deal with inflammation and keep that balance in your body is through your diet. So your diet is the most inflammatory thing. All right, hope you learned something from this section, and I'll see you next time.